Imam Tawhidi versus liberal morons. Hey guys, check this out. It is hilarious. The Imam of Peace spends a lot of his time traveling with speaking engagements and conferences, but for those who have no idea who he is, what the hell is wrong with you? Kidding. But in case you don't know...
Well, it has to reform, otherwise it won't survive. Muslims won't survive and nobody will survive if it doesn't reform itself.
I'm just wondering, when you go and say things like that, how popular are you in the Muslim community?
I'm not popular at all because they don't like this.
The people that refuse to stand before the judge usually, or in most cases, believe that the government of Australia or the government of anything other than an Islamic government is not a government that one should abide by because they're not the laws of God, and I am against this.
In Islam that will justify...
Do not lie to the Australian nation.
Listen,
we have in our books the teachings
that will justify killing innocent people.
To behead people and to kill and massacre people. You cannot sit there and lie to the Australian people. Wait a second. I came here believing that you are a moderate person. Do not lie to the Australian public.
Reply to Jamal.
Do not lie to the Australian public. Our books teach the beheading of people.
What I believe is waiting for them, hellfire. Hellfire. This book is danger. Danger. Nobody should read these books. They brainwash. There's no 72 virgins there. None of this. How many Muslims are there? Times that by 72. What is God, a woman factory?
You know, Prophet Muhammad wasn't preaching to Oxford University students. They were as dumb could get. Literally. I mean, you open the Quran and you read what God tells them in the Quran. He says, please enter your homes from the door. Like, what the hell were you doing? How were you getting into your house that God needed to tell his messenger, can you please tell your believer of followers, they're believers, they already believe in you, they're Muslim. Tell the Muslims to please, when they come into the house, go through the door. Like, what the hell are you doing? You know?
And since he has made a name for himself defending victims of terrorism and speaking out for the downtrodden, something you would think everyone would be on board. But for whatever reason, he is deemed by many from the Islamic community and the leftists as an enemy. To me, he is a genuine hero. So, I thought it would be intriguing to watch this exchange that he had with some leftists at the Women's March in the US, and to see how they respond when confronted with information they cannot rebut. I gotta say, it is hugely entertaining.
Want things to be simple, you want a yes or no?
No, it's basically, you haven't understood the seriousness of this issue. Bridget Gabriel, Ayaan Hirsi Ali, she's asking for an ass whipping. I wish I could take their vaginas away. They don't deserve to be women. How is that feminist?
So this Women's March is the second to occur, the first having taken place on the 20th and 21st of January of 2017. It was basically a whiny bunch of libtards unhappy and sulking at the idea of having lost Hillary Clinton as their possible president, so they conjured up a fictional tale of oppression by a man who had not even taken office yet. Linda Sarsour was not the creator of the Women's March, but indeed she was a founder and a national co-chair. Why is this relevant? Well, because Imam Tawhidi presents these libtards with a piece of information they cannot refute. So, lady, how is this feminist? Her reply is profound.
Today, Junior?
I'm not saying that it is. I never said that it was.
So,
Until she finally discloses that she's not saying that it is, nor did she ever say that it was. Well, I'm sure Ayaan Hirsi Ali certainly had something to say on the matter, as did Brigitte Gabriel. Let's have a look.
Sarsour's 2011 tweet, which has now resurfaced, went after these two very prominent women who have spoken out against Sharia law and in this vicious way. Read this for yourself at home. As she berates them and says that she wishes she could whip them and take away their body parts, it is vile, to say the least. Joining me now is the person who that was directed at, Ayaan Hirsi Ali. well-known author and activist and research fellow at the Hoover Institution and the founder of the AHA Foundation. Ayaan, welcome. Very good to have you with us tonight.
Martha, thank you very much for having me.
What is your reaction when you look at, I know you've read the text of that and everybody at home just read it as well. What's your reaction?
My reaction is that Ms. Sarsour is hostile to me, not because she knows me, but because she's a fake feminist. Ms. Sarsour is not interested in universal human rights. She's a defender of Sharia law. And the principle of Sharia law, there's no principle that demeans, degrades, and dehumanizes women more than the principle of Sharia law.
Sarsour, by the way, what does it mean in Arabic?
Cockroach.
Cockroach, okay? I like you had to think for a second. Cockroach, okay. So let's talk about this woman because she's become a hero of the left. She really does not like you. I mean, she had a tweet from a couple of years ago that was genuinely threatening you if you were to live in her city, which maybe we'll put the tweet up. And then she tweeted perhaps the most vile thing that I've seen on Twitter, which was something to the effect of that she would take away, that women like you, like Brigitte and Ayaan Hirsi Ali, don't deserve their vaginas, and that she would take them away. Now, of course she knows that Ayaan has underwent female genital mutilation, that Ayaan has lived her whole life to defend the Western principles that you're talking about here. So this is pretty obvious to anyone that knows anything about this. It's clear to me what she's doing. She does not care about these women's organizations, and yet she's lauded as a hero of the women's rights movement while they're out there in vagina hats. What is going on here?
Linda Sarsour is a very smart woman. I have to give her that because she is a master manipulator, knowing exactly how to manipulate the gullibles to advance her cause. Linda Sarsour wants Sharia law, if it was up to her, to be the law of the land in the United States. As a matter of fact, she tweeted many times about how wonderful Sharia law is, how lucky women in Saudi Arabia to live under Sharia law just because they have maternity leave much better than us.
Did you see the response from the Israeli ambassador or something on that?
know.
It was brilliant. She said something about how, well, under Sharia law in Saudi Arabia, they have 3 months maternity leave. The Israeli ambassador wrote back, he said, well, our women have 4 months and they can drive.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
Good.
Yeah. But what she doesn't mention is that these women in Saudi Arabia, they may have maternity leave, but were they impregnated by consensual sex, or were they raped by their husbands? Mm-hmm. Were they beaten into having sex by their husband? Were they, this is where the touchy subject that Americans don't feel comfortable talking about even on television or radio or anywhere. I think we can be more open even talking on the internet because this is an internet show where we can actually talk about, semi-truth. We can't even be too open. But women in Saudi Arabia are nothing but chattel. That's what the Quran talks about women. Women are second-hand. The hadith says women are like your field. Plow into them as if you plow into your field.
Back to the Imam of Peace and his exchange with the Libtards. How did they respond to the info they were met with?
Now that you know she's a co-founder of all of this,
now
let me
you
finish.
Explain the difference between that and someone admitting to sexual assault.
Now, you explain the difference between that and someone admitting to sexual assault. Okay. So my assumption here is that they are referencing President Donald Trump, who, by the way, never admitted to sexual assault. In case you all think I am being a partisan dogmatic hack, let us review the evidence. Here's the audio.
When you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the you can do anything.
And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything. Grab them by the pussy. You can do anything. This is certainly a rude and crude comment to make. However, it is not an admittance to sexual assault. It is a declaration of what a star with clearly low self-esteem will allow a rich male tycoon to do to her. He is listing it as a possible option for what one could do to a woman. If he stated, I love grabbing a woman by the pussy, whether she likes it or not, well, then I would be far more outraged and far more critical and disgusted. But we all, away from polite company, make inappropriate jokes and say crude things. Men in particular have their moments of this type of banter. I would also challenge anyone to justify to me how President Trump's comments are more vile than Linda Sarsour's comments, which were directed at a person who has had parts of her vagina cut off. So, to proceed with a comment like they deserve to have their vaginas cut off, knowing full well that the practice of FGM, female genital mutilation, is very real and extremely painful. I would contest that one is clearly more offensive than another, and those who still find Trump's comments worse, well, you're living in a delusion. It's time to get out of it. Additionally, he actually issued a rare apology, which Linda Sarsour has never ever done.
This was locker room banter, a private conversation that took place many years ago. Bill Clinton has said far worse to me on the golf course. Not even close. I apologize if anyone was offended.
Also, to finish, the left does not have the monopoly on politeness and morality. They're virtue signaling. They constantly say and do foul, disgusting things like Woody Allen, who married his adoptive daughter, but he's praised, or having Donna Hilton as a featured guest at last year's Women's March, despite the fact that she served a 27-year prison sentence for kidnapping a gay man and torturing the poor fellow by sodomizing him with a pole. She is a rapist, but praised by the left. She is black, though, and female, so I guess it doesn't matter, she gets a free pass. My gay brothers and sisters, watch out because the left has left you. Mark my words. These people are praised on the left, so who really has the moral high ground? It's kind of shaky at this point, but doesn't it lean more one way?
Condemn. I wouldn't stand with that.
What is the difference?
There's no difference.
There's no difference?
No difference.
Yeah.
I would condemn and I would stand against them.
Yeah, I don't think you actually
Why you want to buy? Are you thinking I'm lying to you?
Imam Tawhidi replies, I condemn. I wouldn't stand for it, and there is no difference. The man responds in the background with, I don't buy that, to which they all patronizingly conclude that the Imam doesn't care or is wrong. They're trapped in a debate and mindfuck they cannot squirm out of.
Why you want to buy? Are you thinking I'm lying to you right now?
No, I mean, either your thinking is flawed or you know, you're
How is it flawed to...
So trying to reason with the Imam, the male libtard attempts to assert that the Imam's logic is somehow flawed. Flawed because he is against violence towards women and because he stands with women, which is the whole point of a women's march, I would have thought. Wow. That's ironic justice right there.
Condemn violence against women.
I wish this person, you know, someone saying, oh, I wish someone would take their vagina away, to saying, oh, by the way, I sexually assaulted this woman in this way.
Perfect.
I think there's
perfect.
Big
you know
difference.
what you just did?
So the male libtard is saying that there is a clear point of difference here, as someone merely wishing for someone else's body part to come off is a very different statement to someone claiming that they sexually assaulted a woman in this particular way, which is quite another accusation altogether. But there was no actual sexual assault that took place, and the Imam has already condemned the behavior. So what are they driving at?
I think there's
perfect.
That's funny. Perfect.
You know what you just did?
That.
You know what you just did?
What?
A second ago, you tried to use an Islamic thing against me with Hazrat Omar, correct? Because I'm a Muslim.
No, it was
yes,
to say,
just one second.
It was to say about you.
I'm trying to make a point.
The leaders are really important.
There is no point in arguing.
I'm trying to make a point.
Wait.
I'm trying to make a point.
No.
I'm not too sure what the argument about Hazrat Omar, if that's what he said, is. But evidently, the libtards are trying to shut down this point because he's caught them on something they can't debate. I don't like how they try to shut him down and interrupt him.
I don't like that because
you don't like it because it's a good point.
The leaders.
You don't like it because it's a good point.
You don't like it because it's a good point. I can't help but laugh. He is indeed passionate.
I'm a Muslim. You used an Islamic point against me. In Islam, actions are by one's intentions.
I punched you.
Okay, and?
Actions are by one's intentions in Islamic thought.
They are trying to burn him using Islamic references, but the Imam is an Islamic scholar who understands both secular worldviews as well as Islamic worldviews. So he retorts with an argument they cannot counter. Here, we receive some insight onto how one must understand Islam. Actions are by one's intentions. This would mean that what you think, sinful or not, is deemed in the Islamic world as an action. Imam Tawhidi asserts this point.
Right. So to say that you wish that you could take someone's vagina away in the eyes of God, as a Muslim, which Linda Sarsour is, you literally have done that, according to Islamic thought. You would be punished for wanting to do that.
Sure.
This is actually not that difficult to understand, as in Christianity, the thinking is quite similar. If you lust after another in your heart, someone who is not your husband or wife, it is as though you have committed the physical act of adultery. Additionally, if you hate someone, this is akin to a physical act of murder. So by this standard, Linda Sarsour has sinned against Islam, yet the stupid bitch is idolized.
That's not the law. So
now that's not the law.
Well, it's not the law, and it's not the law for good reason.
So, the male libtard then, in another attempt of winning this debate, uses the last arrow in his quiver and says, that's not the law. This is funny to me because he was using Islamic arguments against the Imam until he was backed into a different corner. They're really talking in circles, but it's cute, you know, they try so hard.
That's so sweet.
I love the sarcasm the Imam responds with.
Now that's not the law.
Well, it's not the law, and it's not the law for good reason.
If she wasn't a Muslim, would you care about what she said?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be using Islamic points against her if she wasn't a Muslim. I'd be using Christian points against her if she was a Christian.
They think they've backed him into a corner by asking, if she wasn't a Muslim, would you care? To which the Imam intelligently replies, well, if she were Christian or anything else, I would use those arguments instead.
Making a figurative use of the word. I mean, it's not literal.
Exactly.
Well, exactly.
Oh, so it's okay as long as it's not literal to say that you want to take someone's vagina away. It's not literal.
The penultimate point they can bring up is that it was just figurative. I wish they'd apply that very same logic on President Donald Trump's comments on pussy grabbing. These people are so batty, they don't even realize the hypocrisy in their own thinking. The cognitive dissonance is abundant.
Oh, people have freedom of speech in this country.
Well, freedom of speech, yeah,
They can
go
say
ahead.
anything they want.
I disagree with someone. Take their vagina. They don't deserve to be women. Say anything you want. And then run a feminist movement and say, hey, come march behind me, 1 million people.
The final point these libtards bring up is the only solid point in this whole abortion of a debate. The freedom of speech point. Linda Sarsour is absolutely allowed to say whatever she wants, as that is the whole point of freedom of speech, freedom of expression. She's completely entitled. But just as she is entitled to make those vile comments, the same with President Trump and all of us, well, the Imam, likewise, is permitted to point out the hypocrisy and flawed thinking in the Women's March and the whole regressive left movement and Linda Sarsour.
So what if it's a song? I don't understand. So what? You're using it as a political movement. Have a good night. All of them just walking off.
Take it easy.
Of course I'll take it easy.
Thank you so much.
God bless you.
So, I'd say the winner here is the Imam of Peace. Why? Well, aside from the fact that he slaughtered every one of their points, they could not do any more, so they just flee. Weak! And the Imam comes out smiling and gracefully bids them farewell and blessings, as I am just about to do. Thank you, Imam of Peace, for being so logical and inspirational and debating those who really need to escape their own echo chambers. I pray you always stay safe and continue to do the work you're doing. God bless. Please share, like and subscribe to my channel, guys.
Bye-bye, 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 bye-bye.